Welcome to our session today. My name is Jeff Greenberg. I am here on behalf of Student Registration and Financial Services, or SRFS for short. Thank you for joining us today. In my background is the beautiful Locust Walk. If you haven't been to campus just yet, you have a lot to look forward to. It's a beautiful campus and a great town. But that's not why we're here today. You've already committed to Penn, and so our goal for today's session is to introduce you to SRFS, provide an overview of the services that we provide on behalf of our students, their families, and the Penn community at large. And most importantly, to introduce you to steps that you and your student can take today, literally today, that will help make your first term and every term thereafter easier. So, fair warning, the steps that we will describe today, you can consider them among your first official college assignments. You have homework before we are done today. First, an introduction to your presenters for today's session. I am just so pleased to be joined by a panel of absolute all-stars here in SRFS. These are the experts, and they represent each of the functional offices within SRFS. I'm the Senior Director of Student Services and Student Experience. Part of my responsibilities is leadership of our one-stop student service center, about which you'll hear more shortly. But I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, starting with Dr. LeLe Hobbs. LeLe?
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. LeLe Hobbs. I serve as the Director of Student Registration and Services in the Office of the University Registrar, which is a member of the SRFS group. I am going to pass the mic over to Erick.
Thanks, Dr. LeLe. Hello, everyone. I am Erick Herrera. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Financial Aid and Student Employment. Welcome. If you're a family that is applying for financial aid, you'll be working with our office throughout your entire time here at Penn. We're here to guide you not just through the initial financial aid process, but also with the annual renewal of aid and exploring options to manage your students' educational expenses. Our team is available year-round, and we're truly here to encourage you to reach out whenever you have questions, whether it's about the financial aid applications, understanding your financial aid package, or figuring out loan options. We're here to help you every step of the way. Later in this presentation, I will walk you through the key next steps to continue and complete the financial aid process for this and future years. Thank you. I'll pass it on to Meredith.
Erick. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Meredith Weber. I'm the Associate Director of Student Accounts and Billing Operations here in Student Registration and Financial Services. So my team, under the Bursar's guidance, handles all payment processing, e-billing, monthly billing statements, payment plan inquiries, anything related to your student account and payment arrangements. So we are here to help you with all things payment.
All right. Before we jump in to the main crux of our agenda, just a little bit of an introduction of who we are and what we do here in SRFS. We are striving to be a one-stop shop for everything you and your student needs related to the finances of attending Penn, both in terms of financial aid and billing and payments, as well as all things student records. SRFS consists of 3 functional departments and 1 service area. So as you heard a little bit just now, our university registrar's office supports the registration process, enrollment reporting, processing grades, producing transcripts, among many other critical tasks. The office of the Bursar is all things billing and payments. And of course, student financial aid oversees just that, financial aid for our undergraduate and graduate and professional students. And so in short, SRFS is servicing our entire student population, from your incoming first-year students all the way through to doctoral candidates. Now, to this point, if you have been interacting with SRFS, chances are it was through our Student Service Center, or SSC. The SSC is what we consider the front door to SRFS, and our counselors are here to help answer your questions, resolve any issues, liaise with the other SRFS offices or other offices across Penn on behalf of you or your student. And if you've been calling or emailing, or if you stop by in person during a campus visit, it's likely that you were interacting with the Student Service Center staff. I will say, yes, this is our absolute busiest time of year. So likely, if you've been calling us lately, you've had to wait on hold a bit. We thank you for your patience with that. Now that you know who we are, let's get to the main event. Our primary focus for the day, your first college assignment is going to be our SRFS must-do list. You're going to hear from this all-star panel. They are subject matter experts on the things that we think every student and family should know and do before arriving on campus. Couple of notes, some housekeeping items. Throughout the presentation, we're going to share visual references to our student portal, Path at Penn, which is where many of today's homework assignments can be completed. This may be the first time you're seeing it. It is the student portal, so you'll see several references to Path at Penn. There are 2 active QR codes in the following slides. So where you see one, feel free to snap a picture and visit those websites. You can bookmark them for future reference. Lastly, we have members of our team available to answer your questions. So if you have any, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, maybe at the top of your screen, depending on your operating system. Our team will work to answer as many of them as they can. If your question is specific to your student, and therefore requiring some private or confidential support, our contact information will be displayed at the end of our presentation, and we'll just encourage you to reach out to us directly. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Dr. LeLe Hobbs, who's going to get our must-do list started. LeLe, take it away.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, I want to thank all the people who have joined us today and decided to attend our session. It's a very excellent thing for you to do. We know that this to-do list is very important for our students and for any parents or guardians who are joining us. So again, I'm really glad to have you. The very first thing that we're going to touch on today is about FERPA. And FERPA stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. FERPA is a federal law and it identifies who owns the student records. Prior to your student enrolling and matriculating at Penn, the owner of student records was the parent or guardian. That meant that in K through 12, you can go to the school, you can ask for information, and the school will gladly provide it to a parent or a guardian. Once a student matriculates into a university, those rights transfer from a parent or guardian to the student. This is not dependent on their age or any kind of things other than the fact that this person is now a student at a university and therefore is the owner of their record. So up until now, you've been able to communicate with us. We've been able to give you information, and you will see that change as the student fully matriculates and take ownerships of that role. That means things like access to grades or course schedules, their financial records and conduct information now belong in their domain, and they reserve the rights to tell us how to utilize them, who we can share that information with. And so that right transfers to the student as they matriculate, which is the primary reason why we're giving you information today about how the student can give us permission to share information to you. So we want you to help your students to remember that if they want you to be able to call and get information and to help them with things like billing, which you generally help them with, then they need to be able to go ahead and explicitly give you authorization to give that, to receive that information. Jeff mentioned earlier that many of these things occur in our student portal, which is Path at Penn. This is no different. Your student has the opportunity to go online to their Path at Penn profile and give you permission to get certain information about them. Even if they get the permission, even if they give you permission, we always encourage you to work with your student, to talk with them directly, to ask for their information first. It kind of keeps them in the driver's seat, helps them to learn and grow and discover. But in the event that you need to get information, they need to have shared their academic and financial information with you by logging into Path at Penn and clicking on that share academic and financial info. That also requires them to keep their contact information up to date, because we need to be able to reach you and be able to reach them. that kind of information helps us to collect like their cell phone numbers, emergency contact information, their permanent address. And it's not just housekeeping to provide updated contact information for those whom they want to share with, but it's really essential in case of emergencies. If they list you as an emergency contact, then you need to make sure that they provide the correct information for you so that if we try to reach that emergency contact, it's the right person. And in order to help facilitate that, if students have not correctly updated their contact information, if they've not given us all of the things that they need, which they can update their contact information again at Pad Their Pen. That's where they'll update their personal information like their address, their telephone numbers, as well as their emergency information. So if they want to put a parent or guardian as their emergency contact, they'll be able to do that in Pad Their Pen. It's so critical that they do this, that if they don't provide this information, we will place a hold on their student records. So we're asking you to aid us by helping to prevent holds being placed on your student records. Those student record holds include the update required information hold, as well as the vaccination proof of vaccination hold, okay? So in order to update the vaccination information, what they'll do is they can also, again, use a student health portal to submit the required proof of immunizations, right? So in addition to providing their required information, which would be their phone number for mobile alerts, I want to call this one out specifically because many students do provide mobile phone numbers, but in this case, there's a specific type of phone number they need to provide. And this phone number is called the UPenn Alert Student Mobile Phone Number. That is because we have an emergency alert system at the university that will send information to students who have opted into this. And it's very critical that our students opt in and have the ability to provide that information to us in case there's an emergency on campus. Additionally, they have to provide their emergency or missing person contact information, as well as a learning from address. So maybe they're learning from a dorm at Penn or somewhere in the city of Philadelphia, whereas their home is somewhere across the United States or even across the globe. They'll need to provide a learning from address, as well as their permanent address. So one hold that could go on their student record is called the update required information hold. So they'll need to, again, go into Pad Their Pen to load that information. The next type of hold that is sometimes common is the public health hold. And that hold is for students who have not yet provided proof of their required immunizations, which they do through the student health portal, which once again, students are notified of these holds through their Pad Their Pen portal. So you'll see that reoccurring a lot. Pad Their Pen is the one-stop place for students. It's the jump off so that they can get to anything they need at the university. When they want to upload that immunization record, they can go to Pad Their Pen and they can click on Wellness at Penn to upload that information. At the very top, there's a bell icon, which is notifications that would include information about holds or other critical things that are occurring at the university. All of that is important because we want to make sure that we help your students to stay ahead of any surprises. Everything that I've mentioned here today from the OUR is so that we can make sure that students are here and ready and are able to focus on their academic achievement without having side distractions from any kind of holds or additional notifications. So please advise your students, make sure they check their emails, make sure they're looking at Pad Their Pen for any of those notifications from the OUR. At this time, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Erick so that they can move forward in the next parts of our to-do list.
Thanks again, Dr. LeLe. So let's take a few minutes to walk through what you can expect going forward in the financial aid process. Even if you already applied for aid this year, it's important to understand that financial aid at Penn is not a one-time process. It's something that you will revisit every single year. But here's some good news. While the first year tends to be the most complex, it usually becomes more straightforward after that. During my portion of the presentation, I'll focus on 5 key steps you may still need to complete for this year's financial aid process. And if you're already taking care of them, thank you for being proactive. So let's begin with the annual financial aid process. And I know you just about to start the first year, and we're already talking about the second year, but that's just how financial aid works. It is a never-ending process, but like I said, it does get easier and easier from time to time. So, but to continue with receiving financial aid after the first year, families must reapply annually. For many of you, especially if you're U.S. citizens or permanent residents, this might mean that you just need to submit the FAFSA application or the free application for federal student aid in future years. In some cases, we may still require that you submit the CSS profile and your tax documents. However, for some students, we may be able to renew aid based on your initial application without needing any additional paperwork after the first year. So that's pretty great. But rest assured, we will let you know exactly what's required each year via the financial aid portal or financial path at Penn, where you'll be able to see the financial aid tab. The financial aid process for the 26-27 academic year will begin as early as October 1st of this year, when both the FAFSA and the CSS profile become available. And our office will send reminders later in the fall to encourage students to begin their application for next academic year. And we always tell parents, a lot of you take ownership of the financial aid process, especially the first year. We want you to be engaged in the financial aid process, but we also want your student to be engaged in the financial aid process, because we will be reaching out as an office directly to the student, not to the parents. So there's got to be communication between the family, just to make sure that you're not missing any financial aid deadlines. So next, I'm going to talk about refunds. So what happens after you receive your financial aid package? There are a few simple steps. Financial aid is applied by semester to your student's account. Students will receive a bill that lists all the charges for the upcoming semester. And if you have already completed the financial aid process, you will also see your available aid on the same bill. The aid first goes towards billable charges like tuition, fees, housing, dining. And if your aid exceeds those charges, then that excess becomes a refund, which can be used for other educational expenses like books and supplies. Refunds are issued at the beginning of each semester if there is a credit on your account. And later in the presentation, my colleague Meredith will walk you through how to set up a direct deposit, so refunds go straight to your or your student's bank account. Another popular financial aid topic is outside scholarships. If your student receives a scholarship from a resource outside of Penn, that funding must be reported to our office. But here's how we apply it. And this slide will give you what our policy is, but I want to walk you through it. So maybe it will generate some questions that we can answer in the chat, or we can ask you to reach out to our office or visit our website for more information on how we treat outside scholarships. We first will reduce or eliminate the student summer savings expectation, which is a component of your financial aid award letter. If there's still additional funding because the scholarship might be larger than the summer savings expectation, we may adjust the work study portion or any institutional grant aid. Our goal is to honor the outside resource while ensuring compliance with financial aid regulations. And if any outside scholarship exceeds both the student summer savings expectation and the work study award, we recommend that you work directly with the organization that's providing the scholarship. They may be able to divide the award across multiple academic years, allowing you to maximize the benefit of the scholarship without it affecting your institutional aid. And one thing I will mention is that organizations are always willing to work with the student and the schools to make sure the students are benefiting from the total of the scholarship without impacting any other institutional aid. So if your student is receiving a very high outside scholarship, work with our office, work with the organization that's providing the scholarship, so we can make sure that we find a way to take advantage of the entire scholarship. So after applying for financial aid, some of you will be selected for a process called federal verification. This is a requirement from the Department of Education that seeks to confirm the accuracy of the information that you submitted on the FAFSA application. There's no way around that. Once you're selected for verification, it's a process that has to be completed. Otherwise, you may be losing money, especially grant funding, but you may not be able to apply for federal loans if you're looking to do that. Penn has partnered with an organization called Pro Education Solutions, or ProEd, to manage this process. If selected for verification, the student will receive an email from ProEd asking them to submit primarily tax documentation. Parents will be required to participate as part of the verification process, as most of the financial information pertains to them. Please respond promptly. ProEd is going to send reminders on a regular basis. But if the process is not completed, then the federal aid may be removed from your bill, increasing your out-of-pocket financial responsibility or any expected refund. And on the screen, you will see what an email, a sample email, what ProEd will reach out, will list all the documentation that is required from the student or the parent to complete the federal verification process. It's an easy process as long as you follow the guidance, but it could be a little bit of a headache if you don't submit documentation on time, and you might lose some of the federal funding. We don't want that to happen. That's why we always tell students, if you get anything from ProEd or from our office, we want you to make sure that you reach out to them as soon as possible. Everything is done electronically, and everything is relatively simple. And the last topic that I'm going to cover is work study, or one of my favorite financial aid programs. I started in financial aid as a work study student, my first years in college, and 25 years later, I'm still working in financial aid. So it's a program that I always encourage students to participate in, because they get a lot, not only financial benefits, but a lot of professional experience. And we mention always that work study is a central part of most students' financial aid packages. It allows students to earn money throughout the academic year for academic or personal expenses. Students will apply for jobs, participate in hiring interviews, and be paid directly by paycheck on a weekly basis. This money does not go to the bill, that goes directly to the student. They can use it for some educational expenses or any other personal expenses as already mentioned. While work study isn't required, again, I highly encourage it. Students can most students work between 10 to 20 hours per week, and it just gives students a lot of a great experience. In August, students will receive instructions on how to apply for jobs and how to access our job database, and begin applying for jobs this fall or for the entire academic year. And just like any other job, to start working, students must also complete initial paperwork, included an I-9 work authorization form, which basically confirms identity and employment eligibility. Students will need original unexpired documents such as U.S. passport, a permanent resident card, a foreign passport with employment authorization, driver's license, social security card, but there might be some other documentation that is required. As shown on this slide, there's a QR code, as I just mentioned. Please scan it now if you can. It will direct you to the list of acceptable documents required to complete the I-9 form. This information is also available on the SRFS website. Please make sure the students bring original unexpired documents with them to campus. Otherwise, they will not be able to begin the work that semester. We want that if they want to start working as early as August, September, they must bring the documentation with them. With that said, I want to thank you for your time. Please know that we're here to support you if you have any questions throughout the year. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Meredith, to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I'm so glad to have the opportunity today to speak with you about PennPay, which is Penn's online billing and payment system. I'll give you a quick overview of how our billing works, how you can get access to the system as an authorized user, and a few tips to help your students stay on top of their finances. So what is PennPay? PennPay is our secure online billing and payment platform. Students and authorized users like you receive monthly bills, what we call e-bills, through the system. Students can access Penn Pay through Path at Penn. Each month, an email is sent to the student's Penn email address, letting them know that their bill is ready. From there, the student can log on to Penn Pay through Path at Penn and view their bill, make a payment, or sign up for a payment plan. So how does this affect you? Students can add parents, family members, or really any person they would like to authorize as an authorized user. Authorized users can receive the same e-bill notifications and can view and pay their bill directly, as well as 1090-T tax documents. Your student will need to log into Penn Pay and send you an invitation. Once you accept it and set up your own credentials and account, you'll be looped in to monthly notifications and have full access to all things billing and make payment. It's important to note that being an authorized user is not the same thing as FERPA that LeLe was mentioning in the beginning of the presentation. Authorized user access is strictly related to billing, payment plans, nothing to do on the academic side. So they're two very different things to make note of. On that note, please encourage your students to also stay on top of their Penn email, check their Penn Pay frequently just for changes, check that bill every month just to make sure everything looks as it should. So in terms of payment methods, again, all on Penn Pay. Payments can be made via bank transfer, ACH, credit or debit card, or wire transfer. We offer wire transfers through our trusted vendors such as Flywire and Pay My Tuition for those paying with international accounts. I do want to point out that paying with a credit card right now, we do assess a service fee. So domestic cards are currently assessed at 3%, while international cards are at 4.25%. We also offer payment plans. So we have two payment plan options. One through Penn Pay, which is for those playing with domestic bank accounts or a credit card. And then we also have a newly plan available through our partner Pay My Tuition for those paying with international bank accounts. Both plans let families spread their payments over the course of each semester by 5 or 4 months. So there's a plan open fall, spring, and summer. Currently, we have a 4-month plan still available for the fall semester with the deadline to enroll of August 14th, with the first payment date coming out the next day on August 15th. Just want to point that out. So that is still available for domestic and international payers for the fall semester. There's a $50 enrollment fee for each plan. So you pay that every time you enroll. So say you enroll in the fall and the spring, you pay $50 each time you enroll for $100 total. And again, there's no interest. These are totally voluntary, but another great option to finance some or all of your finances, your students' finances. So back to refunds. Eric had mentioned this previously. So if your student has a credit on their student account, for example, from an excess of financial aid or an overpayment, these funds are issued in the form of a refund. It's important that your student keeps their permanent and/or learning from address and telephone number up to date in Path at Penn. This all kind of circles back to the importance of keeping the student's contact information up to date. So we want to make sure those refunds go to the right place and they're not delayed. Even if a student has the right bank accounts and set up for direct deposit, we still require that valid address and phone number. It's important to note that if, for example, say the learning from address is student housing and your student opted to have a paper check sent out, that's going to go to like their student housing in their dorm. So just something to keep in mind in terms of that address. On Penn Pay, students can enroll in direct deposit by adding their preferred bank account for the refund delivery. So typically the refund automatically is sent to the student with the exception of, say, excess from a Parent Plus loan. So it's important for students to ensure that their contact information in Path at Penn's up to date and make sure that they want direct deposit, they have that preferred method set up. If it's not set up and we have a good learning from or permanent address, the check will just be mailed out automatically to make sure that we're in compliance and we'll get those funds out to the student. So lastly, today, I do want to talk to you about GradGuard. So we partnered with GradGuard to offer a tuition refund plan, also known as tuition insurance. So Penn offers tuition insurance through our trusted partner, GradGuard. Our tuition insurance plan basically offers reimbursement when a student can't complete an academic term due to unforeseen circumstances, injury, accident, illness that's considered covered under the plan. More information is found on Penn Pay, and you can enroll, again, right on Penn Pay over on the right-hand side, and you would make payment right through there as well. And we do have GradGuard's direct phone number there to contact with any questions you may have. And again, this is total voluntary option, but when we find some, parents and families and students find very useful. So those are just some of our most important pointers related to all things billing and payment. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Dr. Hobbs, Erick, Meredith. That was a lot of information to share with you today in rapid fire, but fear not. If you need to check in with us to confirm your understanding or to hear any of that again, we're here to help. The Student Service Center, our SSC, is open every day, Monday through Friday. And yes, we're here all summer long. You can call us directly to speak to a counselor. As a reminder, we experience our highest volume of calls in July, August, and September. So if you're calling, please be sure to have that time set aside. But before we let you go, one last opportunity for a quick recap and one more QR code so that you have a reference for your homework today. These are your assignments, or rather, these are your students' assignments with which you will help. Okay, remember that once your student begins their academic journey, their student records and their accounts are protected by the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, which does include all of you if you are not authorized by your student. Your student will be receiving reminders and instructions via email to update their contact information. Okay, so remind them that doing so promptly will help to avoid any registration holds. And of course, Path at Penn is the destination where students can make all of these updates, including links to other Penn resources like Wellness, where they will be uploading their immunization records. One last chance for that QR code. That's going to bring you to our SRFS Must Do website. Did I hear somebody chime in?
Yes, that was me, Dr. Hobbs. I do want, before we get off the call, I recognize, I'm not sure if you saw this, but there are 257 participants who have joined us over this time. And I know that at the time we started, we didn't get to welcome all of them. And I have a sneaking suspicion that many may have missed the beginning of the slides. So I'm wondering if after you do this wrap up, we might be able to go back and recover maybe the first 15 minutes or so of the presentation.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm certainly game. So how about this? If you would allow me, I will stop sharing my desktop for just a second. For those of you that were here from the very beginning, this was our second to last slide. If you feel like you have everything you need and you don't feel like hearing the opening 15 minutes again, we bid you farewell. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations and welcome to Penn. We look forward to seeing you in person next month.